Hello, welcome once again to Lehto's Law. I'm Steve Lehto. Quick show note, Sunday, October 6th at 1 o'clock Eastern Time, I will do a live YouTube feed, 1 hour, 1 o'clock, October 6th, which is a Sunday, live feed. Check it out then, and we can hang out. So I think I've got all the technical problems solved. But John sent me a story from Michigan and said, Steve, you might want to check this out. And this is the kind of thing that scares me. I hate hearing stories like this. Fox 2 News out of Detroit reports that Michigan City Clerk is facing 6 felonies in election fraud case. And if true, this is the kind of thing where they need to come down on somebody like a ton of bricks. Out of Southfield, Michigan, a city clerk is facing 6 felony charges for allegedly forging records and falsely marking absentee ballots as invalid during the 2018 election. The allegation is that the clerk literally took ballots and threw them away. The charges against Southfield City Clerk stem from the November 6th, 2018 general election, and they are as follows. Count 1, election law, falsifying returns and records, a 5-year felony. Count 2, forgery of a public record, and I'll explain that in a second, a 14-year felony. Count 3, misconduct in office, a 5-year felony. Count 4, using a computer to commit a crime, election law, falsifying returns and records, a 7-year felony. Count 5, using a computer to commit a crime, forgery of a public record, a 10-year felony. Count 6, using a computer to commit a crime, misconduct in office, a 7-year felony. Discrepancies in the Southfield voter count were brought to the Secretary of State's office attention by the Oakland County Clerk's office following its efforts to certify Southfield's absentee ballots. So, the election returns happen the night of the election, and everyone turns on their TV, and starting around 7 or 8 o'clock when the polls close, returns start trickling in. And usually you can tell which way it's going, although we've had some close elections lately. But usually they can tell which way it's going to go. And so by the end of the evening, they can often call most races. But there's a lot of housekeeping to be done afterwards. And that is where they literally go through and make sure that all the votes are counted. I'm just kidding. But they do basic algebra, okay? Count how many ballots there were and see if there's a general correlation between how many votes were cast. But the point is that this is basic math, okay? So you've got a bunch of ballots and you got a bunch of votes. These things should kind of correlate. So Michigan State Police then conducted a thorough investigation and determined that election records had been altered. They'd been altered. According to court documents, police found that 193 absentee voter files were changed in the city's computer system to say they either had no signature or no return date, when in fact they had both valid signatures and return dates. Police stated that after Oakland County Election Director Joseph Roselle found that these false reports had been submitted, his staff found the original ones in a trash can at the Election Division office. And, I do think there are problems with our elections because we occasionally do hear about discrepancies and problems and votes not being counted and so on. And, of course, there was the whole nightmare with what happened in Florida a few years ago. And I know people, the second I mention the Florida election, are going to think I'm going to get political on this, and I'm not. The problem that I had with the Florida election, okay, I'm talking about Bush-Gore, was that the race was very, very close. And that evening, the news organization said this race is going to be very, very close. And in the next few days, as they were trying to hash out how close it really was, somebody said, oh, by the way, tens of thousands of ballots routinely don't get counted anyway because our machines don't work right. And I know I was shocked when I heard that, and I know other people were shocked as well. It's like, wait, a couple ballots maybe out of a million cast, I'd understand, or ballots that are mangled or ballots that aren't filled out properly. You're telling me that ballots that people filled out properly, fed into a machine, aren't being counted? And they go, yeah, tens of thousands. But the thinking was that if you take a statistical average where you spread everything out and you throw out 10% of it at random, well, the other 90% will probably reflect what you're supposed to be seeing as a statistical average. Except that when a vote comes down to hundreds out of millions cast, that could be a problem. And I don't care about the outcome of that election per se in this discussion. What bothered me was the fact that there were literally thousands and thousands and thousands of ballots that were being thrown away every single election because the machines weren't calibrated properly, or the punch card system didn't work, whatever it was. And the idea that we rail about how people should get out and vote. If you love your country, you should vote. I don't care who you vote for. Get out and vote. If you don't vote, you don't have the right to complain about things, okay? So if you want to complain, vote, okay? Then you can join the club. But my point simply is this, that if we can actually get people to the ballots, to the polls, and they vote, and then their ballots are thrown away, that is one of the biggest sins I would think of that exists in America. We need to resolve that. Every vote needs to be counted. Every vote needs to be proper. Every vote needs to be accounted for. And so when you catch somebody throwing away ballots, now, we don't know what the rationale was for why this person was throwing away ballots. But the idea that a ballot goes in a garbage can, okay, that to me is a very, very serious allegation. If these things are true, off to the hooskow. Today, upon learning that the Southfield City Clerk was formally charged with multiple crimes under Michigan law, I exercised my authority under Michigan law to exert supervisory control over local election officials and directed the clerk to refrain from administering any election while there are charges pending against her, the Michigan Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson said. Our elections are the foundation of our democracy, and under my and Attorney General Nessel's administration, there will be no tolerance for any actions that undermine that foundation, anywhere, anytime, by any person or official. Benson insisted that the alleged fraud did not affect the outcome of the election. So they found the ballots and they counted them, which is good. And what always scares me, and I'm going to use an analogy here, but if you flip on the light switch and you see a cockroach, okay, that's the one you saw when the light switch went on. How many were in the room 5 minutes earlier before you walked in and flipped on the light switch? And so when they catch one person throwing away a stack of ballots like this, does it happen elsewhere? Did it happen before here? These are concerns. So I'm in favor of really hammering somebody if they get convicted of these kinds of allegations. All valid votes in the election were ultimately counted, and the final official vote total was accurate, she said. The clerk accused of this was elected Southfield City Clerk in November of 2017. Prior to that was the city clerk of Pontiac, but that was a non-elected position. Pontiac is a town a little bit further to the north in Oakland County. But there she was responsible for the city's elections. The clerk turned herself in, was charged and arraigned late Monday morning in the 46th District Court on 6 felony counts in front of visiting judge Michelle Friedman, who is the chief judge of the 45th District Court. I suspect they brought in a visiting judge so they wouldn't have any problems with recusals. Because Southfield's administration, it's a decent sized city, but I think that the courthouse and the city hall and the municipal building are all pretty much one complex, and so I wouldn't be surprised if these people all know each other, if not personally and go out to lunch friendly type things, but they at least see each other just passing in the halls and so on, and I wouldn't be surprised if this person has been in front of this judge on official matters. I don't know. So they bring in a visiting judge from a neighboring district to oversee the case. The clerk was given a $15,000 personal bond, and a probable cause conference was scheduled for Monday, September 30th, so just yesterday. And a preliminary exam is set for Tuesday, October 15th. So I will follow this case because voting has been popping up in the news a lot lately. Like I said, we've had a couple close elections, and I'm always one of these people. I urge people to get out and vote. And you meet young people who aren't registered, and sometimes there have been times where I was discouraged when I saw the length of the line at my voting place. Now, lately, I've lucked out. I'm actually voting in a place now where During the presidential election, I was in line for 15 minutes. And in the off-year election, I was not in line at all. I literally walked in, walked up, and voted and walked out. I mean, there was no line at all. And I know that there's people in different places around the country that have different issues, and I've seen lines before that wrap around a building and go outside, and it's like, standing in line for free tickets to a rock and roll show or something. But I still encourage you to get out and vote. But like I said, the idea that there's situations where the votes aren't counted, like I said, getting back to Florida, the disturbing part of that story to me always was how many votes weren't being counted as a matter of routine. And their excuse was, well, it doesn't affect the outcome because they're being discounted or not counted at random. And it's like, but still, if we ask people to vote, shouldn't we count their votes? So, Michigan City Clerk facing 6 felonies in election fraud case. I will keep you updated. Questions, comments, put them below. And don't forget, Sunday, October 1st, YouTube live feed for 1 hour. Log in, fire your questions at me. Had a lot of fun, and I believe I've resolved the technical issues. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.